He did not hear the door open. That alone should have been impossible. The room was small, clean, and quiet, built for function, not comfort. Soft white panels covered the walls of the human quarters on Outpost L9. Every door had 3 locks. Every corridor had sensors. Every movement was logged. He had checked them all himself before resting. The man lay half awake on the narrow sleeping platform, one arm folded under his head, eyes open and unfocused. Years of military service had trained him to sleep lightly. He was listening to the faint hum of the station's power core when something felt wrong. The air changed, not sound, not light, just a pressure like the room was holding its breath. He turned his head slightly. She stood near the door. She was tall and slender, her shape unfamiliar but clearly humanoid. Her skin was pale silver blue, marked with faint lines that glowed softly like distant stars. She wore no armor, no uniform, no visible technology, no weapon. Among her species, that meant something very specific. She was unshielded. In galactic terms, she was naked. His body reacted before his mind did. Muscles tensed. Heart rate spiked. His hand moved toward the emergency beacon on the wall, then stopped. Something in her posture made him pause. She was not attacking. She was afraid. Slowly, carefully, she stepped forward. Bare feet touched the floor without sound. She crossed the room as if every step mattered, as if the distance between them was more than a few meters. He sat up, keeping his movements slow. His voice, when he spoke, was calm. "You're in a restricted area," he said. "If this is a mistake, you should leave now." She did not answer. Instead, she lowered herself to the floor and crawled forward, her movements deliberate and controlled. This was not weakness. It was ritual. His breath caught. He had studied alien cultures for years. He knew enough to understand what he was seeing. Among her kind, to approach someone unshielded at ground level without permission was an act of total trust, or total surrender. She stopped at the edge of his sleeping platform and looked up at him. Her eyes were large and dark, reflecting the dim light of the room. When she smiled, it was not playful. It was calm, certain, almost relieved. "You are awake," she said softly, her voice clear and carefully shaped in human language. "Good." He stared at her, mind racing. "Who are you?" he asked. "My name does not matter yet," she replied. "What matters is that you are human." Before he could respond, the lights flickered. He felt it then. A deep vibration through the station's frame, distant, heavy. She sensed it too. Her smile faded. "They are here," she said. "Who?" he asked, already moving off the bed. She did not answer right away. Instead, she reached out and placed one hand on the edge of the platform. The glowing lines on her skin dimmed further, as if she was shutting herself down. "They will ask you to give me to them," she said. "They will say it is necessary, logical." Efficient, another vibration, stronger this time. Alarms should have sounded, they did not. He activated his wrist console, pulling up station feeds. Every external sensor was dark. Communications were down. Someone had cut the outpost off cleanly and quietly. He looked back at her. "And what happens if I do?" he asked. She met his eyes. "Then I will not survive," she said simply. Silence filled the room. He had faced enemy fleets, orbital bombardments, and boarding actions in deep space. This felt heavier. "Why come to me?" he asked. Her gaze did not waver. "Because humans are the only ones who do not destroy what is unprotected," she said. "Your history proves it, even when it costs you." Another tremor ran through the station. Somewhere far away, metal screamed. He exhaled slowly. "Stay here," he said. "Don't move." She hesitated, then nodded. He crossed the room and sealed the door manually, overriding station controls. His training kicked in, mind clear now. He armed the emergency shield emitter hidden beneath the bed platform and activated a short-range jammer. "This won't hold long," he said, "but it might buy time." "For me?" she asked. "For both of us," he replied. She watched him with something like wonder. "You do not ask what I am," she said. "I know what you are," he answered, "or at least what your people are known for." Her species had ruled entire sectors through fear and precision. They believed in hierarchy, strength, and survival above all else. Mercy was considered a flaw. "And still you stand between me and the door," she said quietly. "That's kind of our flaw," he said. The first impact hit the station moments later. Not an explosion, a controlled breach. Whoever was outside wanted the structure intact. He moved to the wall and pressed his palm against a hidden panel. A compartment slid open, revealing a compact pulse rifle. He hesitated, then shook his head and closed it again. "No," he muttered. She noticed. "You choose not to arm yourself," she said. "I choose not to escalate," he replied. Yet, footsteps echoed in the corridor beyond the door, heavy, confident, multiple beings moving as one. A voice spoke through the metal, translated smoothly into human language. "Human representative," it said. "Open the door, we are here for the asset." The word made his jaw tight. "She's not an asset," he replied. "She's a person." A pause. "Your objection is noted and irrelevant," the voice said. "Compliance will prevent unnecessary loss." He glanced back at her. She had risen to her feet now, standing tall despite her unshielded state. There was no fear in her expression, only acceptance. "This is where your logic fails," he said to the door. "You think loss only matters if it's inefficient." The metal began to glow faintly as cutting tools engaged. He stepped away from the door and stood in front of her, his back to her, unarmed. She reached out and touched his shoulder lightly. "You do not have to do this," she said. "You owe me nothing." He smiled faintly. "That's where you're wrong," he said. "I owe myself." The door shuddered as the breach deepened. Somewhere in the station, systems that had been silent for years began to wake. Old protocols, human ones, rescue beacons, ethical overrides, failsafes designed for one purpose only: protect the vulnerable. As the first crack appeared in the door, she looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time since entering the room, her smile returned. Not because she was safe, but because she had chosen right. And the galaxy, though it did not know it yet, was about to learn what humans did when faced with an unshielded life. The door did not fully break. It peeled. A thin line of molten metal traced a circle across the reinforced alloy, glowing white-hot. The sound was low and steady, like something patient and very sure of itself. Whoever was outside knew exactly how much force to use. The human stood still, feet planted, shoulders squared. He did not look back, but he knew she was there. He could feel it, the quiet presence behind him, unshielded and calm in a way that made his chest feel tight. "Step aside," the voice outside said again. "You are obstructing lawful recovery." "No," he replied. The cutting stopped for a moment, not out of hesitation. Out of calculation. "You are a single individual," the voice continued. "You cannot alter the outcome." He smiled without humor. "People have said that to humans before." The breach finished. The circle of metal dropped inward with a dull thud. Smoke drifted into the room, sharp and bitter. Shapes moved beyond it, tall figures in layered armor, their forms distorted by personal shield fields. They stepped through one by one. There were 5 of them. Enforcers from a coalition that called itself neutral but was anything but. Their armor was dark, smooth, without markings. Their weapons were held low but ready. Their leader looked at the human, then past him. "There," it said, "the unshielded one." The alien woman behind him did not move. "She stays," the human said. The enforcer tilted its head slightly, a gesture copied from dozens of species but belonging fully to none. "You misunderstand," it said. "This is not a negotiation." The human took one step forward. "It is now." For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the station shuddered, not from an impact but from power flowing through systems that had been dormant. Emergency lights flickered on. The hum of the station deepened as internal bulkheads sealed one by one. The enforcers reacted instantly, weapons lifting. "What have you done?" the leader demanded. "Bought time," the human replied. The woman behind him inhaled sharply. She felt it too. The station was waking up in a way she had never felt before, not defensive, protective. "This outpost was built by humans," he continued. "After the first contact war, before anyone trusted anyone." The enforcer's shields flared as a low-energy pulse washed through the room. Not an attack, a scan. "You are violating interstellar recovery law," the leader said. "Step aside." The human did not move. "Scan all you want," he said. "You'll find what we already knew." "What is that?" the leader asked. "That your laws don't mean much when people are being taken to die." The woman stepped forward then, moving to stand beside him. The enforcers reacted instantly, weapons snapping up, energy fields tightening. She raised her empty hands. "I will go," she said calmly, "if you allow him to live." "No," the human said at the same time. She looked at him, surprised. "You do not understand," she said quietly. "They will not stop." "I understand perfectly," he replied. "That's why I won't let you go alone." The leader's voice hardened. "This display changes nothing," it said. "Your species prides itself on sacrifice. This will be no different." The human glanced at his wrist console. A single indicator blinked green. "Actually," he said, "this is where it gets different." A sudden vibration ran through the enforcer's armor. Their shields flickered, then stabilized. The leader stiffened. "What is happening?" it demanded. "Human protocol," the man said. "Old one, we call it shared risk." The woman felt it then, a strange sensation along her skin, like static before a storm. The glowing lines across her body brightened slightly, reacting to something unseen. "You linked systems," she said softly. "I linked people," he corrected. Throughout the station, emergency beacons activated, not distress signals. Identification broadcasts. Every human vessel within range would see them. Unarmed, unshielded life present, protection requested. It was a message that bypassed politics, bypassed rank. A message humans answered. The enforcers exchanged rapid signals between themselves. Their leader took a step back. "This escalation is unnecessary," it said. "Stand down." "You first," the human replied. The leader raised its weapon. The human did not flinch. The woman moved then, stepping fully into view. She stood tall, her posture straight, her expression open. "No shields, no defenses. You fear inefficiency," she said to the enforcers. "But you misunderstand weakness." The leader hesitated. "This one is unstable," it said. "Her species is in collapse. She represents a biological failure." She smiled faintly. "Yes," she said, "and that is why you are afraid." The human felt it then, the shift. The enforcers were no longer fully in control. They had expected fear, compliance, order. They had not expected two beings standing unprotected and refusing to move. A sharp tone echoed through the room as the station's internal comms came online. "Human Outpost L9, a voice said. "This is Rescue Command. Identify the nature of the threat." The enforcers turned toward the ceiling speakers. The human answered. "Unlawful extraction attempt," he said. "Unshielded civilian present." A pause. "Understood," the voice replied. "Hold position." The enforcer leader's shields flared brighter. "You are provoking a broader incident," it said. "Good," the human replied. "That's how change starts." The station shook again, stronger this time. Distant docking clamps engaged, multiple. The woman closed her eyes briefly. She could feel it now, human ships. Not powerful like war fleets, but numerous, fast, close. "They came quickly," she said, almost in wonder. "They always do," he replied. The enforcers lowered their weapons slightly, uncertain. "You will regret this," the leader said. "Maybe," the human answered, "but not today." The leader made a sharp gesture. The enforcers stepped back, retreating through the breach. The molten edges cooled rapidly as automated repair systems activated, sealing the room. Silence returned. The human let out a slow breath he hadn't realized he was holding. His shoulders sagged just a little. She turned to him. "You risked everything," she said. He shrugged lightly. "Kind of our thing." She studied him, really studied him, not as a soldier or a representative, but as a being who had chosen uncertainty over safety. "Among my people," she said, "trust is extracted, never given." He met her gaze. "Then maybe that's why your people are hurting." Outside the room, human personnel moved through the corridors, voices calm but alert. The station was alive now, fully awake. She looked around, then back at him. "They will not stop trying to take me," she said. "Not until I am gone." "Then you're not going anywhere alone," he replied. She smiled again, softer this time, not relief, something deeper. For the first time since her species began to fall, she did not feel like a failure. She felt protected. And somewhere beyond the station, word was spreading, quietly, steadily, that humans had once again done something illogical. They had chosen to stand exposed. And the galaxy was starting to pay attention. The station was no longer quiet. Human voices echoed through the corridors, calm but fast, trained to move in emergencies without panic. Boots struck the floor in steady rhythm. Doors sealed and opened again as teams spread out, securing every section. The outpost felt alive in a way it had not for years. The human stood near the center of his room, watching the last of the warning lights fade back to normal. His hands shook slightly now that the danger had pulled away. He clenched them, then relaxed, breathing slowly. She stood beside him, still unshielded, her glowing lines bright but steady. Her eyes followed everything with careful attention, taking in the human movements, the tone of their voices, the way they positioned themselves not to dominate space but to guard it. "This is not how other species respond," she said quietly. "No," he replied. "They would have isolated the threat," she said, "contained it, sacrificed what could not be secured." He glanced at her. "We tried that once," he said, "didn't like who we became." A human officer stepped into the doorway, helmet tucked under one arm. Her eyes moved quickly from the man to the alien woman, then softened. "Sir," she said, "docking complete, 3 civilian escorts and 1 medical team standing by." The man nodded. "Thank you," he said, "and good work." The officer hesitated for a fraction of a second, then nodded back and stepped away without another word. The woman watched this exchange carefully. "They obey you," she said. "They trust the system," he replied. "Big difference." She considered that. "Among my people," she said, "systems exist to preserve hierarchy. Trust is irrelevant." "That sounds exhausting," he said. For the first time, she made a sound that might have been laughter, soft, brief, almost surprised by itself. Before either of them could speak again, the station's main display activated, projecting a 3-dimensional image into the air. Several figures appeared, humans and non-humans alike, connected through a secure channel. A council. The human's expression hardened slightly. "That was fast," he muttered. The central figure spoke, its voice smooth and formal. "This outpost has violated coalition procedure," it said. "Explain your actions." The human stepped forward, placing himself slightly in front of her without thinking. "I prevented an unlawful extraction," he said, "of a sentient being. She is classified as unstable biological material," another voice said. "Her species is in decline. Containment is required." The woman moved then, stepping past him so she could be clearly seen. "I am not material," she said calmly. "I am not unstable. I am different." Several figures reacted at once. Some leaned forward, others stiffened. "You present yourself without shields," the central figure noted. "That is highly irregular." "Yes," she replied. "So is asking for help." The human glanced at her, then back at the projection. "She came to us," he said, "unarmed, unprotected, because history showed we wouldn't destroy her for it." A murmur spread through the council. "You are setting a dangerous precedent," one of them said. The human shrugged. "Human history is full of those." Silence followed, then another voice spoke, older, slower. "Is it true," it asked, "that she would not survive containment?" The woman met the gaze of the projection. "No," she said honestly. "I would exist, but I would not live." The words carried weight. Even across species, some truths were easy to recognize. The council debated in low tones. The human could feel the tension building again, but this time it was different. Not immediate danger, something larger. Finally, the central figure raised a hand. "This matter exceeds standard protocol," it said. "Temporary human guardianship will be recognized until further review." The human let out a slow breath. The woman closed her eyes briefly. "You are free to leave the outpost," the figure continued. "Under human protection." The projection faded. The room felt suddenly very small. "You did it," the man said quietly. "No," she replied. "You did." He shook his head. "We just stood there." She looked at him, her expression serious. "That is what changed everything." Hours later, they stood aboard a small human transport vessel. It was simple, worn, and clearly well used. No grand design, no intimidating weapons, just reliable systems and enough room to breathe. She stood near the viewport, watching the outpost drift away. "I was prepared to die," she said softly. "When I entered your room," he leaned against the bulkhead. "I figured," he said. "You didn't look like someone expecting a warm welcome." She turned to face him. "Among my people," she said, "to show oneself unshielded is to accept judgment. It is believed that only the strong deserve protection." "And now," he asked, she thought for a moment. "Now I think strength might be the willingness to be seen." The ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, stars stretching into lines, then vanishing. They traveled for days. Word spread quickly, too quickly. Other species began to ask questions, some quietly, some angrily. Why had the humans interfered? Why protect a failed species? Why risk instability? Humans answered the same way they always did, because someone asked for help. At a remote human settlement, she walked openly for the first time among beings who did not flinch at her unshielded state. Children stared with curiosity. Adults nodded politely. No one reached for weapons. She felt something in her chest loosen. The man watched her from a distance, arms folded, a faint smile on his face. "You okay?" he asked when she returned. "I am," she said, "for the first time in a very long time." Days turned into weeks. Scientists studied her condition not to control it, but to understand it. Humans asked questions instead of issuing commands. They listened when she spoke. Her biology was not failing. It was changing. Her species had evolved around dominance for so long that they had forgotten cooperation was also a form of strength. Her unshielded state was not weakness, it was adaptation. When this became known, shockwaves moved through the galaxy. Others of her kind began to remove their shields. Slowly, carefully, some were harmed, others were helped. Humans were there for all of them. The man stood before a gathering of mixed species months later, speaking plainly without ceremony. "We didn't save them," he said. "They saved themselves, we just didn't stop them." She stood beside him, fully visible, unshielded calm. When she smiled this time, it was not relief, it was hope. The galaxy did not change overnight. Fear never vanished completely, but something fundamental shifted. Power was no longer measured only by what could be taken, but by what could be protected. And long after the council debates ended and the reports were archived, the story spread in quiet places and crowded ones alike. About the moment an unshielded being crossed a room, trusted a human, and smiled, and how that simple act reminded the galaxy what courage really looked like.